I got dirt on this lens and I can't get it off, man. I think it's like maybe baked in. Anyway, this is a before shot. This is before the bruises and the contusions and the broken teeth and stuff. And here we all are, nice and pink and fresh. Yeah. We got a couple of people missing still. But this is the way it's done. This is the way you do business, man. You gotta kick out some jams, man. Yeah. Hey guys. Oh yeah, you're busy working. Yeah, no doubt. Huh? You gonna get that done in time?
Oh yeah. Another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I can help. Here, let me try helping. Hurry, man, hurry, hurry. Hurry up. That helps, right?
I'll tell you sometime right, time, okay?
You bet. Okay, I'm gonna click this off. Blink. Blink, 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 blink.
You guys can? Good, good. I got everyone's thing in mind.
You got new hardware, new laptop. New hardware. Oops, sorry, man. Hey, good. Hi, it's so good to see you. Yeah. It's like old homecoming.
Hi.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like a
Yep,
family
cool.
reunion.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. The Charter Township regular board meeting for January 16, 2012. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, no, this is excused tonight, so I need a motion to appoint clerk pro tem for tonight's meeting.
I move to appoint Carol Cheney. Support.
Which has been made by Jeff Wood, supported by Tony Pantucci, to appoint Carol Cheney as clerk pro tem for tonight's meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the agenda for January 16, 2012 regular board meeting. C, public comment. This is first opportunity of the meeting. We open the floor for public comment. If there's anybody who would like to make comment, we ask that they stand up, state their name and address for the record if they would please, and please limit their comment to 2 minutes or less.
Good evening. My name is Roger Nye. I live in Norton Shores at 1495 Westwood Circle. I am a member of Occupy Muskegon. In December, I attended one of your meetings with several other members of Occupy Muskegon. Our principal goal is to notify you of our presence and to observe local government at work. One of your members inquired whether you would meet on the Martin Luther King holiday. The response to this inquiry, as if I recall correctly, was that certainly you would. The township offices being open on that day. The question of whether it might be desirable to observe this holiday was never discussed. As a federal employee for over 30 years, I can recall having Martin Luther King's birthday as a federal holiday since 1986. Today the banks were closed, the post offices were closed. As far as I know, most state offices were closed. The New York Stock Exchange even was closed. However, the Muskegon Charter Township's offices remained open, and we can only wonder why. No matter, there are different ways of observing a holiday. Your presence here tonight gives us the opportunity to share with you some of the words and thoughts of this great American. We are living in a period of great economic turmoil, pessimism, and social unrest. We hear on the news that many citizens, fearful of a breakdown in society, are arming themselves. In these troubled times, the words of the good Dr. King inspire us to remember the great power of courage, nonviolence, and love, and their ability to win out over fear, violence, and hate. Let me share some of these words with you. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And here's my favorite. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Thank you very much, and I hope that everyone present will derive inspiration and encouragement from these words.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You want to go first?
Good evening. My name is Judith Moore-Nye. I live in Norton Shores, and I'm a member of Occupy Muskegon. In April of 1968, I was visiting Washington, D.C. in the days surrounding the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I have rarely seen such pain in the eyes of the public and overwhelming fear for the well-being of our country as I did at that time. The only other occasions I recall witnessing that degree of anguish, loss, and fear were when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963, when Senator Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in June of 1968, and on 9/11. The following are words spoken by Dr. Martin Luther King. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Freedom has always been an expensive thing. History is fit testimony to the fact that freedom is rarely gained without sacrifice and self-denial. He also said, when evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men burn and bomb, good men must build and bind. When evil men shout ugly words of hatred, good men must commit themselves to the glories of love. Where evil men would seek to perpetuate an unjust status quo, good men must seek to bring into being a real order of justice. He also spoke these words, an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law. And he said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And finally he said, at the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love. Thank you very much, and as been previously requested, I hope you allow a holiday for your board in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. next year.
Thank you.
I'm Jonathan Paul Hume. I'm part of Occupy Muskegon. I'm going to read some quotes from Martin Luther King.
Address, please.
1465 Windward Way, Muskegon, Michigan.
Thank you.
My mother, as a daughter of a successful minister, had growth upon comparative comfort. She had been sent to the best available school and college and had, in general, been protected from the worst flights of discrimination. But my father, as a sharecropper's son, had met his brutalities at the first hand and had begun to strike back at the early age. I remember riding with him one day in my childhood when he accidentally drove past a stop sign. A policeman pulled up to the car and said, "All right, boy, pull over and let me see your license." My father replied indignantly, "I'm no boy," then pointed at me. "This is a boy. I am a man, and until you call me one, I will not listen to you." The policeman was so shocked that he wrote up the ticket nervously and left the scene as quickly as possible. With the heritage, it is not surprising that I had learned to abhor segregation, considering it both racially, rationally inexplicable, and morally unjustifiable. The straitjackets of race, prejudice, and discriminations do not wear only Southern labels. The subtle psychological technique of the North has approached in its unwillingness of victimization of the Negro and outreach terror of open brutality of the South. Thank you, Jonathan.
Jonathan, what's your last name?
Hume.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dan Mills. My address is 1817 Mills Avenue, actually. That's next to here in North Muskegon. And thanks for hearing me. I'm also with Occupy Muskegon. Now, I'm employed presently as a computer consultant and as a contractor, and so I'm free to work in the evenings and take my afternoons if I need to attend events like, for instance, the African American Museum today had quite a good event presentation by some notable figures, local figures. And I was able to attend it because I'm not locked into a schedule and I didn't have to punch into a clock or use a sick day or something like that to attend. Now, I don't know where Ms. Oakes is tonight, but I have a feeling that she's not just lounging on a couch someplace. I have a feeling that she's probably attending some kind of a service that's important to her at the expense of the Township Board and has made a decision that appears to forego her responsibilities here, which is too bad. And I do observe, too, that I see a number of white people, not minorities, I don't suppose, in attendance tonight. Now, and I'm sure that you don't feel like minorities feel when they step out into the society that we live in, because they feel, I can tell you, that it's not their community, that it's yours, white people's community. And when somebody on here makes a suggestion that maybe we honor a minority hero who really should be honored and respected, to just get shot down by a bunch of white people, I would be ashamed of that. And I am actually ashamed to be a white person in this world, in this country. Anyway, in 1964, Mr. King, Dr. King, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, 35 years old, youngest one ever. He was awarded $54,000, which he gave away to help not just black people, but oppressed people everywhere. And then he went on to champion the peace movement against the Vietnam War, just before he was assassinated. When he was killed, he didn't have the money for his own burial, because he gave it all away. You want to look for somebody's heart, you look for where the treasure is. His treasure was among the people that he loved. I don't know where yours is. I'd like to ask you, each of you, you're on camera, and we're going to be visiting you regularly, and all the local politicians regularly with cameras, and we want to ask you questions. Have you answer? Why won't you honor King's birthday? I'd like to know. And please, when you're ready to answer that, let me know, because I'd like to be put on the web along with my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Joseph Hock. I'm with Occupy Wall Street movement and Occupy Muskegon movement. I live at 118 Redmond Drive, North Muskegon. On the day Martin Luther King received his Nobel Peace Prize, his acceptance speech was really short, but it's to the point. I'd like to confer that over to you people. I am mindful that only yesterday in Birmingham, Alabama, our children crying out for brotherhood were answered with fire hoses, snarling dogs, and even death. I am mindful that only yesterday in Philadelphia, Mississippi, young people seeking to secure the right to vote were brutalized and murdered. Therefore, I must ask why this prize is awarded to a movement which is beleaguered and committed to unrelenting struggle, to a movement which has not won the peace and brotherhood, which is the essence of the Nobel Prize. After contemplation, I conclude that this award, which I receive on behalf of the movement, is a profound recognition that nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and racial questions of our time, the need for man to overcome repression without resorting to violence. Thank you.
I have a question. Does every single one of you have to give up and give a 2-minute speech?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Who's next?
My name's Dylan Hawk. I'm from Occupy
I guess
Muskegon as well.
I kind of got it first. Go ahead.
Well, you're going to get it about 5 or 10 more times. My name's Dylan Hawk. I live at 2019 Harrison Avenue in the Lakeside District. I believe that you are up here because you love your community, and Dr. King loved his community as well, and I encourage you to consider taking a holiday in the future. I don't see why you don't. I'm at a loss for words for it, frankly, and I'd like to encourage you to consider that in the future. There are many ways to serve your community besides having a board meeting this evening, and I'd like to read these words. There comes a time when a moral man can't obey a law which his conscience tells him is unjust. And the important thing is that when he does that, he willingly accepts the penalty. Because if he refuses to accept the penalty, then he becomes reckless, and he becomes an anarchist.
There are those individuals in every age and generation who are willing to say, I will be obedient to a higher law. It is important to see that there are times when a man-made law is out of harmony with the moral law of the universe. New laws are not enough. The emergency we are now facing is economic, and it is a desperate and worsening situation. For the 35 million poor people in America, there is a kind of a strangulation in the air. In our society, it is murder, psychologically, to deprive a man of a job or an income. You are, in substance, saying to that man that he has no right to exist. These words are extremely applicable to our time, and once again, I just highly encourage you to consider honoring this man. We have a Columbus Day, which is a disgrace to this country, in my opinion, and yet we have places in this country that don't honor someone as honorable as Dr. King. I find that a farce, and I hope that you will consider this next year. I thank you for your time and listening and your patience. I understand this is, it's getting redundant, but it's to make a point, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is David Nye. I'm 1495 Westwood Circle, Norton Shores. I'd like to read a few selections from a sermon by Dr. King, Why I Am Opposed to the War in Vietnam, delivered at Ebenezer Baptist Church, April 30th, 1967. The time has come for America to hear the truth about this tragic war. I should say also that these words, with a few minor changes, are equally applicable today as they have ever been. The time has come for America to hear the truth about this tragic war. In international conflicts, the truth is hard to come by because most nations are deceived about themselves. Rationalizations and the incessant search for scapegoats are the psychological cataracts that blind us to our sins. But the day has passed for superficial patriotism. He who lives with untruth lives in spiritual slavery. Freedom is still the bonus we receive for knowing the truth. Ye shall know the truth, says Jesus, and the truth shall set you free. Now, I've chosen to preach about the war because I agree with Dante that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. There comes a time when silence becomes betrayal. The truth of these words is beyond doubt, but the mission to which they call us is a most difficult one. Even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom and in the surrounding world. Moreover, when the issues at hand seem as perplexing as they often do in the case of this dreadful conflict, we're always on the verge of being mesmerized by uncertainty. But we must move on. Some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony. But we must speak. We must speak with all humility that is appropriate to our limited vision. But we must speak. And it is time for all people of conscience to call upon America to come back home. Come home, America. Omar Khayyam is right. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. I call on Washington today. I call on every man and woman of goodwill all over America today. I call on the young men of America who must make a choice today to take a stand on this issue. Tomorrow may be too late. The book may close. And don't let anyone make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment. And it seems that I can hear God saying to America, "You're too arrogant, and if you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power."
Excuse me. I said 2 minutes or less.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Melissa Bowden. I live at 118 Butterman Drive in North Muskegon. I feel as though that the lack of recognition for this day is pretty ridiculous. I see that the people up here are white, and you are serving a community that is predominantly black, African American. I feel as though that this day should be recognized by the council and also by the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Shanti Devi. I live at 4380 Hickory Point Lane, Norton Shore. And I'd like to see you institute a policy of a government holiday next year. I'm with Occupy Muskegon, and here are some words from Dr. Martin Luther King, which was, for me, a devastating loss. I lost faith in our country at that time, and it has taken me a long time to stand up again and say, I'm going to fight for this country because I think it's worth it. And the times we're in now are dangerous and fraught with trouble. So there is nothing that expressed massive civil disobedience any more than the Boston Tea Party. And yet we give this to our young people and our students as a part of the great tradition of our nation. So I think that we are in good company when we break unjust laws. And I think that those who are willing to do it and accept the penalty are those who are part of the saving of the nation. The hope of the world is still in dedicated minorities. The trailblazers in human, academic, scientific, and religious freedom have always been in the minority. That creative minority of whites, absolutely committed to civil rights, that can make it clear to the larger society that vacillation and procrastination on the question of racial justice can no longer be tolerated. It will take such a small, committed minority to work unrelentingly to win the uncommitted majority. Such a group may well transform America's greatest dilemma into her most glorious opportunity. The deep rumbling of discontent that we hear today is the thunder of disinherited masses rising from the dungeons of oppression to the bright hills of freedom, in one majestic chorus that rising masses singing in the words of our freedom song, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around." All over the world, like a fever, the freedom movement is spreading in the widest liberation in history. The great masses of people are determined to end the exploitation of their races and land. They are awake and moving around, moving toward their goal like a tidal wave. You can hear them rumbling in every village, street, on the docks, in the houses, among the students, in the churches, and at political meetings. These developments should not surprise any student of history. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. Their yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. The Bible tells the thrilling story of how Moses stood in Pharaoh's court centuries ago and cried, "Let my people go." So, thank you.
Shani, what is your last name?
D-E-V-I. Baby. My name is Joan Bakke. I live at 4380 Hickory Point Lane in Norton Shores, Michigan. And everything was up there. We went to the African American Museum for a several-hour honoring Martin Luther King. I was so moved when they read his speech. I still have tears and pain in my heart. I implore you to do this because he was a great man and he needs to be honored. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This is the second time in the meeting where we open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? We ask that they stand up, state their name and address for the record. If they would, please limit their comment to 2 minutes or less.
Thank you. Again, my name is Dan Mills, 1817 Mills Avenue and 49445. And I would like to clear up some maybe possible confusion about the Occupy movement, Occupy Muskegon, if I may. There's been some confusion, like I say, even recently saw some confusion firsthand. A local politician was surprised because she was a Democratic Party member. She thought that we were somehow allies, and that was her words. And we videotaped a question and answer period and put that up on YouTube, and it wasn't very flattering, I suppose, because we had a lot of pressure then to bring that thing down. And then she found out that we actually weren't allies. We weren't allied with the Democratic Party, and I explained to her that actually a number of us had a very low opinion of Democratic Party members as well as Republican Party members. And so I wanted to clear that up, that we aren't allied with any party. Okay? The other thing, I wanted to clear up that we aren't just looking for things to be against. We actually are for something. We are for one thing. Our primary purpose is to return the power to the people. Now, we've observed there's a real conflict of interest. Politicians take office to serve. They have their morals, they have their ethics. They come in to do a good job, and right away they're confronted with a conflict of interest. They have to account. They have to reconcile their position with the people who paid them to get there. TV spots, advertising, flyers, time on the radio, that'll cost money, and so people contribute the money, they get them elected. You can't ignore the person who paid the fiddler. There's a definite conflict of interest there. And so we have experienced that ourselves. The coercion that we experienced, the backroom coercion, this is that stupid video, is incredible. And I can't imagine what it's like to hold a political office with real power, because not only do you have that big coercion, but then you have the enticing money if you do things appropriately. And so we see this as a flawed system, from top down, inside and out. A lot of us do. And so what we're for is returning the power to the people. And the only way that we can see right now to do that is to confront the politicians on camera, real time, and present real news about where you stand on these important issues. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman and Board members. My name is Stephen Sang. I live at 3701 East Broadway. I'm the owner-operator of the Doghouse Saloon, established in 1984. I employ 20 persons and at least 60 outside service contractors. Our business is part of the community. We have sponsored the Eastside Extravaganza since its inception, in which the proceeds go to Muskegon Township parks, plus many sponsorships of ball teams, bowling teams, pool teams. We have supported and raised money for various charities. I'm here to express my feelings on how several business owners and I were treated by the fire inspector and the township supervisor on the issue of our customer service smoking areas. Last year I installed a hopefully temporary steel-type building next to my building, in which I contacted the building inspector. He said he thought the building would be fine. At least 5 businesses were issued a letter on December 14, 2011 from the township fire inspector with issues that needed to be addressed. I replied to the fire inspector on December 16th. He came out to assess the situation the next day. He stated there are 3 issues to conformity code. I then had a meeting with the township supervisor, fire inspector, planning commissioner, and the building inspector on Thursday, January 5th, 2012. There was a permit issue with my building that the building inspector and I both accepted responsibility. I expressed to all present that the building was desperately needed for the reason of the depressed economy and the smoking ban. I also noted the loss of revenues for the state in terms of lost club Keno sales by 41% and lost liquor sales of 20% since the inception of the smoking ban. So, reasonably, our sales have been affected. At least 5 businesses were issued a letter on Tuesday, January 10th, 2012 to remove or alter their smoking areas within 3 days, after the planning commission supposedly instructed the supervisor to not allow any steel-type structure to be used for a customer smoking area on commercial property. The township supervisor also stated he was not sure of the smoking ordinance. He will have to look into it. I called the planning commissioner on January 11th. She put me on speakerphone with the supervisor and her to express my dismay and pleaded with him of the need for our structure to accommodate our customers until winter was over, at least more than 3 days, when other establishments were granted a continuance on their deadline. His response was, "I told you 3 days, not 3 hours." I also asked him about another location that had gotten approval and installation for their steel-type structure on September of 2010. His response was, they received a permit for a carport, and if they are not going to park a car under it, they will have to remove it. When one particular owner asked the fire inspector what he should do to make the smoking area acceptable, his response was, "I don't go to bars, I go to casinos." The owner then asked him for help with a solution. His answer again was, "I don't go to bars." I believe there is a need for affordable smoking areas since we are not an isolated incident in this township, when there are at least 5 establishments that have been issued a letter on this issue. As far as the ordinance on smoking buildings, structures are not supposed to be totally enclosed, and we are allowed to smoke anywhere on the property, even right next to the entrances, as long as smoke does not enter the building. We business owners have been, and will be, working with the state legislature and county health department on some sort of amendment on this issue, at least to let us have smoking allowed in outside service areas, so we'd be able to construct a more permanent structure to protect our customers from the inclement weather. I hope that the Township Board will work on a solution and take this information to help support local independent businesses, cater to their customers, so we don't see more Muskegon County businesses closed, as similar ones have, 2 in 1 week at the beginning of January, and 1 was closed last night. That was in the Township. I would at this time request permission to engage in a permit process to install a weather shelter at 1940 East Lakeland Avenue. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Mathis. I live at 63 Dennis in Fruitport. I'm also a business owner in charter of Muskegon Township. I own a 46 bar down the road. I was one of the business owners contacted about my smoking shelter. I personally submitted some drawings, got kind of a temporary okay because it was going to be for less than 90 days. I put up some tarps. I had a little backer because I had a wind problem. I did not enclose my deck. I got a letter from the fire inspector, and it states, as he brought this to me, hand-delivered, and said, "You have an enclosure out there." And I said, "No, I have a 7-foot by 8-foot hole in that, and I had a stairway put on that you requested in the summer." And his response was, "Oh, I didn't realize that." But he hands me this letter that states that if I'm enclosing my deck, I need a 4-foot door with stairway. So he's already assumed that I've enclosed my deck. He gives me this letter, says I have to fireproof my deck. Says when enclosing this deck, it must meet fire codes. I talked to the building inspector. He said it's got to be fireproof. I'm going, I have a building that's 1940 paneling in it. They smoked in it for 60 years, and now I have to fireproof my deck? And he said, "Well, you enclosed it." I said, "No, I did not enclose it. I have an 8-foot by 7-foot hole in it. I put up a wind block just to help retain what customers we have. The smoking law has affected us in a devastating way. We're trying to retain it. A mile down the road, either way, from either one of our establishments is a different township who play by different rules. They're letting me have temporary shelters to keep our smokers somewhere. I have started the process. I've got my architectural stamp drawing in just to have a roof shelter of some sort. Not very professional. Come into my place, and then I asked my fire inspector for a solution to my problem. I said, hypothetically, you're a 2-pack-a-day smoker. You come to a bar. Where are you going to go? He goes, "I don't go to bars." I said, "Okay, what do you do?" He goes, "I go to casinos." "Okay, that doesn't help me." I said, "What should I do to my deck?" He says, "I don't know. Don't go to bars." That was about the end of our conversation. 2 days later, he comes back, unbeknownst, walks into my bar. I'm not there. Walks out on my deck, starts taking pictures. To me, that's very unprofessional. I would think they would make a phone call, say, "I'd like to come out, do some research." It's like we're found guilty before we're found innocent. Normally, you're innocent until you're found guilty. If you don't know the information, give us some time, work with us. We're just asking for help. I don't see us enclosing anything. I would like to work with something just to have some kind of enclosure. Because they're going to stand right in my vestibule, and the smoke's going to come in my building. It's inevitable they're going to smoke. We're looking for help. I sat down with Dave, tried to have a conversation. I understand some of it. Okay, should we enclose the smoking room? No. Do we got to give them something? Yeah, we do. We got to do something. We have other townships to contend with. We're just trying to retain our customers. They can go one township over to Fruitport Township, different rules. Different fire department, Eggleston's different. They're all close. We're just asking for help. A little professionalism. We're trying our hardest. But I did have drawings in. And it says here he got his drawing. I submitted it on the 6th. He got it on the 9th. On the 13th, he decided to act on it. So that means it's 7 days I put this in, don't hear anything. There's got to be a better process, whatever it is. But if you're in a building at all, you can't wait 2 weeks for a response on something. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Dave Mortland, and the address is 1271 Holton Road, which is the business I own, Northside Sports Page. I've been in business for about 15 years, and in the past 30 days I've got more correspondence with this township than the previous 14.5. All resulting around a structure that we put outside to try to keep business. We went through the proper cycles and got the proper building permits. About a month ago, this township then sent me a letter where it was an error. They assumed I enclosed my storage unit or carport or this outdoor structure. When the building inspector came out, he took his pictures and realized it was not enclosed. put on one wall. I did have a temporary wall put up with a door, trying to be a wind block, trying to keep my business.
Which wasn't allowed under the permit.
It was not a part of the permit that was issued.
But it wasn't allowed under the building permit that you applied for.
Well, sir, I certainly we went through the proper procedure for that permit. To
But what
construct.
was okayed and what you have was not, it was outside the scope of the permit.
I understand that now. I was in error in not reporting to you that I first attempted to put a blue tarp up there for a windbreak. I didn't think I needed another permit for that tarp. Just like the little pigs, we went from plastic to wood, and we thought we just put up a wood structure and temporary. I'm certainly on 1/4 of the structure. I didn't close the structure. I did put it on one of 4 walls. And it's just a temporary basis. Didn't think I needed to come to you for that one temporary enclosure on 1/4 of the already permitted project.
Okay, you're outside the permit, but continue, go ahead.
I don't think I need to continue on it because I'm here to say what more do I have to do to stay in business in this community where others are failing daily. I also got just more information from the township where you're asking me to clarify smoke-free programs within the state. And I'm not sure that just falls within your jurisdiction. Certainly, the state law mandated smoke-free properties and buildings, and within we allow all 83 counties to policy for that. I don't know that they need your advice as well. You don't have that information.
The smoking ordinance has nothing to do with the township. We don't enforce the smoking ordinance. That's not our issue.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
My name is Brad Jacobs. I live at 3873 East River Road. I am owner of Northland Lanes, the co-owner of Northland Lanes, who has also had smoke building issues. We put up a pretty significant structure in order to save business as well. Went through the permits, got the permit through my contractor, hired a contractor to do the job. About in May, there was a letter sent saying that he didn't have the proper drawing. What was missing off the drawing, I do not know. Had contact with Mr. Reams and the building inspector in October after another letter stating that we were going to get fined if you didn't get the drawings in on time. I'm like, well, you know, what drawings are you looking for? So I contacted my contractor, told him what he was looking for. He came in and picked up some extra drawings that I had. He took them, off he went, thought everything was handled until Monday. Mr. Reams is taking pictures and informs me that, you know, things weren't all right. And I said, well, you know, can you give me till Friday to get my contractor going? I assumed my contractor had done his job and was doing what he's supposed to be doing. Well, come Wednesday, up goes a payment slip saying that we cannot use the room. Then, as per conversation about just holding off till Friday, like I was told in the first place, I was quoted, you have to be 30 feet from the building anyway, so you can't even smoke in that room. Well, that's not so. That is, we fall under the state law because we are a bar restaurant. So we're quoting stuff that we really don't know about. And I don't think any of us here are real happy about what's going on. We're all trying to survive in this economy, and, you know.
Spring's only 60 days away.
Yeah. So we're shut down, and now our people are all out in the cold. Everybody here. And our surviving businesses that pay your
You know, I guess I got to respond to all four of you by saying the same thing I said to the news. I mean, it's not that we don't want you to have a place for people to smoke, but that's a liability for both us and for you if all the building and fire codes weren't addressed like they were supposed to be. I mean, we're willing to work with you. Everything's got to go through the proper process. You know, two of you worked outside the scope of three of you worked outside the scope of the permit, and one of them didn't have a permit at all. And all of those are building and fire code issues for you and for us. I mean, we're willing to work with you, like I said. But
And I'm going to address that. We're not enclosing anything. We're throwing up a windbreak. How does a fire official expect me to fireproof my deck? Exactly as is quoted in my letter. I didn't enclose anything. I'm not asking for a
Brian, you're done. I have the pictures right here. Everybody can look at them. I have the pictures
Look
right
at
here.
them.
You're done.
My name's Dylan Hawk. I'm from 2019 Harrison Avenue, Lakeside. First of all, I'd like to say I think your tone with this gentleman is inappropriate. Second of all, I'd like to say commend you for standing up.
Follow the rules.
I don't care. This is my 2 minutes, sir. All right? I have a right to speak, and I'm going to speak. I commend you for standing up as small business owners struggling in this terrible economy. I'm a non-smoker. You know, these people are struggling. These are a number of people from the community who are voicing, perhaps the code is out of order. You know, we've been able to smoke in bars forever here, and suddenly there's a fire hazard. I mean, this is ridiculous. If you guys need some help putting pressure on the fire chief, Occupy Muskegon will be happy to help you.
Yeah, we're not only statewide, we're national-wide.
And in regards to the board here, I couldn't help but notice, I commend you for speaking as long as you did and standing up for yourselves, but I couldn't help but notice that they went well past 2 minutes, and you cut us off when we're honoring Dr. King right at 2 minutes. And I think that's shameful. And I think you should be more professional. Thank you.
Okay, does the board have any announcements? No, need a motion to adjourn.
Yep, so moved.
Motion been made by Joe Kent, supported by Jeff Wood, to adjourn the meeting. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Adjourned.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. All together now. We shall overcome someday.
See us on Facebook.
Next time I hope I have my dress. What did you say? Next time I hope so I have my dress.
Yes,
I don't have the dress.
What do you mean? Oh, I was wondering. Danny's wondering. Hey, here we go. Whoa. Just a few of my favorite people. Hey guys, David, beautiful. Occupy Muskegon! Whoa!
Occupy Muskegon!
Whose township? Our township! Whose township? Our township! Whose township? Our township! Hey, Occupy! Woo! I love it, man. Thanks. You two, you're the instigators. Oh, yeah, troublemakers. Oh, yeah. God, I'm glad I met you.
We're going to make more trouble.
Yeah, we're looking for trouble, man. Bring it on. Here's a couple of troublemakers over here. Hey, troublemakers.
Did you want to punch her?
Yeah, right. Oh, because you were crying.